Disclaimer. Let me make a few things clear before we start. This video will be showing footage of shootings, anti-ICE protests getting violent, and ICE activity. If you are a child watching this, get either one or both parents to watch this before you do. I am not here to start a fight. I am not anti-Renee Good. I am not anti-ICE. I am not anti-proof. I am here to give my personal thoughts on a difficult conversation as a Transformers fan since the early 2000s, an autistic man wanting to do research, and as someone who doesn't want hype to override proof. Finally, if you have a problem with what I'm going to say or how I present my findings, keep it to this video. Do not pester me in other videos. That's a sign of immaturity, not open mindfulness. Now, let's get started. Hello everyone, I trust you're doing well. Freedom is the right of all sentient beings. That's the motto of the main character from Hasbro's Transformers series, Optimus Prime, originally granted to him by Bob Budiansky, Jim Shooter, and Denny O'Neil. It's this motto that has united Transformers fans regardless of beliefs or creed. That is, until the former writer and artist for Skybound Transformers, Daniel Warren Johnson, accepted to draw a commissioned art piece of Optimus Prime defending some immigrants holding an American flag against ICE agents with literal blood on their hands. That last detail is possibly a reference to Renee Good, a bisexual mother who, days before this art was drawn, was blocking the road and honking her horn during an ICE operation to remove illegal immigrants from Minneapolis. This came to an unfortunate end when Officer Jonathan Ross came around to help his fellow officers, just as Renee, with some chanting from her wife Rebecca, tried to flee the scene, prompting him to draw his gun and fire thrice. She didn't survive 2 of the 3 shots, she was hit in the shoulder and head specifically, and her car kept going until it hit a parked car, while Jonathan was later reported to have internal bleeding from the collision, despite still being able to walk.
So according to Merriam-Webster, to run over someone is to collide with, knock down, and often drive over. In the case of Jonathan Ross, the federal agent involved in the incident, he was struck, but not knocked down or driven over.
Yeah, remember though, this is a man who the president, the vice president, and the secretary of Homeland Security has said was hit by a car.
Well, Trump said he was run over.
Right, run over by a car.
And had to go to the hospital. Here he is walking.
So here he's walking along, and he starts gesturing and yelling for them to say, hey, we need to get an ambulance here for this person. He walks back that way to join the rest of them. That is the aftermath of this, and you can see him walking again there. And
he's checking his phone. He doesn't appear to be in any pain, at least as far as we can tell.
This was most likely what enthralled Daniel to accept this commission and draw this image, and it was promptly used by the Transformers fan channel, Delta Trion, who I have liked previous videos of so I don't hate him, to make a video using this art in colour and with Optimus's freedom motto as the title. This video is essentially a montage of comments that disagreed with that point of view while emotional music plays, and the comments section was filled with the usual Donald Trump is evil, ICE are fascists, Optimus is an immigrant, fake fans don't get Transformers. It was always political comments that usually spawned from feelings and not research. But here's why I think that both the immigrant video and the freedom video are misleading and misusing that motto. In my experience with Transformers, particularly with the Unicron trilogy, the Michael Bay films, animated Prime, and its Rescue Bot sister series, Optimus Prime usually upholds the law, and while he would, most likely, if not certainly, be disappointed with Renee's death, he would not be encouraging protests or the demonization of ICE. Would he support ICE? To find out the answer to that, we first need to go over some key details for those who don't have the proper context. The first one is, who is Daniel Warren Johnson and why did he draw this? Daniel Warren Johnson is a comic book writer and artist from Massachusetts. He's known for comics such as Do a Powerbomb, Murder Falcon, and, in this case, the first 24 issues of Skybound's Transformers series. He was sheltered as a child and was homeschooled from 3rd grade onwards. His sheltered upbringing and restriction of certain media caused him to have a shame-guilt-based reflection, hence why his comics usually focus on family, loss, and, yes, social justice. The reason he drew this is because, again, it was a commission. He was paid by a fan to do this, and he agreed since, given what we've gone over, it reflects his shame-guilt worldview, and he's made it clear that he is against ICE and sees anyone in favour of deportations and against immigrants, whether legal or illegal, as the bad guy. The next point we have to go over is, who are Renee Good and the ICE agent Jonathan Ross? Renee Good, along with being a mother married to another woman, was part of an anti-ICE watch group that organises protests against ICE while they are rounding up illegal immigrants.
The New York Post reports Renee Good was part of a group of activists who worked to document and resist the federal immigration crackdown in Minnesota. Good, who did move to the city last year, linked up with the anti-ICE activists through her 6-year-old son's woke charter school, which boasts that it puts social justice first and prioritizes involving kids in political and social activism. It was through her involvement, the report goes on, in the school community that Good became involved in ICE Watch, a loose coalition of activists dedicated to disrupting ICE raids in the sanctuary city. ICE Watch and adjacent groups can also turn confrontational, with numerous instances of activists ramming agents with their cars in the past.
I would like to thank Aegis Defence for the following information.
We pull up their website right here. The Immigrants Defense Project, what they're designed to be is an advocacy group that takes donations. They try to find lawyers and get help for illegal immigrants so they can have representation during proceedings, or they provide more information so they understand what their rights are, even if they're not citizens. Okay? They don't have the same rights. And Renee was part of the ICE Watch program, which is a group that is trained to go to areas where ICE raids are happening to disrupt operations by federal law enforcement, specifically CBP and ICE and the greater DHS. And they even utilize an app that illegal immigrants and U.S. citizens can call into that will alert where raids are actively happening. And it is there are people that absolutely call these things in and give this information up. Heck, this is insane. I actually had a student during one of our courses earlier this week. We were doing a defensive handgun course, and he was wearing his duty belt, and he had an olive drab green shirt on, and a lady got freaked out and tried to, when he was on his property, called and said like, "Oh, he's ICE," and tried to inform people that and make phone calls that like, "Hey, ICE is in the area." And he wasn't. He was just going to go to the gun range and take a class, right? So crazy stuff. That's how heated things are kind of getting. Now, personal anecdote aside on that story aside, looking at Renee Good. So ICE Watch, what they train their people to do is to be disruptive. And how they do that, you've probably seen it in the news and on X and social media, where they will have their whistles and signs, and they will disrupt and stand and block entrances to federal facilities and gates. And the big thing is they will utilize their vehicles to block travel of federal vehicles. They'll use their personal cars to do so, and they will follow ICE around as groups to harass them and to get them to stop, to trying to buy illegal immigrants time to get away, or to just stop all operations in general and get the area locked down.
This explains how and why she was blocking ICE activity that day, sadly giving the impression that protecting illegals was more important to her than just getting on with her day and seeing her son when he's done with school. Now for Jonathan Ross. He's an ICE agent. What is ICE? ICE stands for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. It's a federal agency created in 2003 that primarily focuses on enforcing immigration laws, protecting national security, and deals with crimes such as human trafficking and drug smuggling, though a lot of their arrests receive due process as per their website. I've given the link to this website in the description to this video. In recent months, Body camera and other footage from ICE operations has shown agents arresting individuals suspected of immigration violations, often amid crowds of protesters attempting to support or defend those detained. These demonstrations have drawn participants from diverse immigrant communities, usually Latino groups, as well as allies from progressive and activist circles. A good example of this is the June 2025 protests in Los Angeles, which started off fine but eventually became violent, resulting in various amounts of property damage and included the National Guard being deployed. It's worth noting, though, that many protesters waved Mexican flags, along with those from other Latin American countries, as symbols of cultural pride and solidarity with affected communities, as opposed to American flags. Though there were some present, I will admit, the fact that it was mostly foreign flags being flown shows where the allegiance lied. This unintentionally makes Daniel Warren Johnson's commission very misleading, since most immigrants and activists protesting usually have anti-American views, and this is something that Delta Trion in both videos has not addressed. And before anyone says, well, he must be racist because he works for ICE, not only are there non-white ICE agents,
that vehicle right there is honking and impeding our investigations while we're trying to arrest a child sex offender. That's who you guys are protecting. Insane.
If there's somebody or gentleman or whoever's from UK and they look like her, they will get arrested as well, and they'll get deported.
On the sidewalk being peaceful.
It's simple. It's straight simple. They can look like me, you, her, him. If you're legal or illegal, you'll get deported.
I've linked this in the video description too, but Jonathan himself is, at the time of this video, married to a Filipina woman, so no, racism is not a factor here. It's also worth noting that Jonathan Ross had a similar traumatizing experience of being dragged by a fleeing car months prior. I'd like to thank the YouTube channel Dr. G Explains for both the following information and the footage.
Now, something we're going to see from a different angle is that he discharged his weapon with another ICE agent very close by. And to me, that speaks to, once again, the fact that he's in this fight or flight mode. Now, why is it that he would get so strongly in fight or flight so quickly? On June 17th of 2025, Jonathan Ross was attempting to arrest somebody. At that time, when he reached in their car, they drove forward and ended up dragging him several hundred feet. When something like that happens, that gets encoded in what's called your amygdala. You don't really need to remember the name of it, but there's part of the brain that handles fear and memory. So when you've got memories that remind you of things to be afraid of, it activates it, and it can activate that fight or flight system very, very quickly. But the significance here is that this is now going to be part of his fight or flight system. Like I talked about, the amygdala connects fear and memory. Well, in a situation like this, the idea that you can get dragged by a car, the idea that a car is extremely deadly, while we all already know that, becomes much more real when you've experienced something like this.
I know what a lot of you are thinking. What does this have to do with Optimus Prime and Transformers? Well, in Delta Trion's comment sections on both videos, a lot of Transformers fans are saying something along the lines of, "This is in character for Optimus Prime. He's against oppression and defends the helpless." And that's true. But what all these fans are forgetting is that ICE is tasked with illegal aliens who don't follow the law, and many are armed with weapons so they're not helpless, while Optimus himself has encouraged upholding the law and arresting those who don't in various Transformers series. Here are some examples off the top of my head. In the Marvel Comics run, where Optimus first debuted, he started off as a gladiator champion representing Iacon, his home, and he planned to become a medical officer, but instead he enrolled in the army when the Decepticons started an active war effort. He upholds martial law and fights for order. In multiple Generation 1 episodes, he and the Autobots follow Earth's laws, work with different branches of authority, and even allow the Protector bots to function as local law enforcement and provide rescue services, hence their vehicle modes. In the IDW comics, he's a highly decorated police captain who does agree that the government is corrupt because of the caste system that's in place, but this ultimately ends in tragedy when Nails, a pacifist group, want him gone because he represents war, So while IDW Optimus is against corruption, he simply wants the law reformed, not abolished. In Transformers Animated, Optimus and his repair crew spend the series apprehending human villains like Nanosec, Angry Archer, Meltdown, and Slow-Mo, on top of fighting Decepticons, and he works with Captain Fanzone and Detroit's police service. He's essentially a police officer despite turning into a fire engine. In Transformers Prime, my personal favourite Transformers series, he works with the military via Agent Fowler, and Team Prime later shares an airbase with the army after their original outpost was destroyed. In that same series, when RC's rival Arachnid is trapped, Optimus keeps her locked up. He has no intentions to release her, thus denying her freedom. He never offers her freedom as a bargaining tool against the Decepticons, and he never even lets her go out of hope that she will change her ways. He may have wanted to free Breakdown from Silas, but that's about it. Arachnid's freedom? Nope, apparently she doesn't have that right. Throughout the Michael Bay films, Optimus works with Nest, a division comprised of Cybertronian and human soldiers alike, to hunt down Decepticons. While he does allow the Decepticons to keep their freedom in the Dark of the Moon comic and novel, where he negotiates peace with an exhausted Megatron, most Decepticons are clearly in favour of squishing humans like bugs. Plus, they have no reliable prison to hold the Decepticons in. In Dark of the Moon in particular, we need to talk about Sentinel Prime. Contrary to what fans will tell you, Optimus was not opening fire on someone begging for his life. Optimus knew that Sentinel did not surrender. He was justifying his actions to enslave humanity after leading a charge to kill some of them, and willingly chose to kill him to stop him from doing it again because he destroyed their base, killed Ironhide, and again, where are they supposed to store him? He doesn't exactly deserve to be trusted with freedom after that. I recommend Talon Productions' video to see why Michael Bay's Optimus isn't as bad as people think, so I've linked this in the video description as well. In the 2015 sequel to Prime, Robots in Disguise, Optimus joins the B-Team in rounding up Decepticon prisoners with no intentions of redeeming them, taking their freedom away so they can be arrested. In Transformers 1, while he does want to get rid of Sentinel Prime, he does not want him executed. He, like his IDW counterpart, wants the government to be reformed. It's D16, who later becomes Megatron, that encourages the violence. Orion, who is Optimus before he gets the Matrix, tries to be lawful.
Wait, don't you want to stop him? No, I want to kill him! I want to put Sentinel in chains and march him through the mines so everyone can see him for the false Prime that he is! I want him to suffer and then to die in darkness. What are you doing?
It's over, D. Everyone in Iacon knows the truth.
So do I! He took everything from us. I have to do this.
No, you don't. Rebuilding Iacon cannot begin with an execution.
He deserves to die. Can't you see that?
We're better than this. Don't be like Sentinel.
Pax, you need to move out of my way before I move you myself.
D, listen.
And finally, in the recently finished Earthspark, Optimus is part of Ghost, a division of human and Cybertronian agents, and some defected Decepticons like Breakdown, that hunts down Decepticons, just like ICE does with its illegals. Basically, while freedom is Optimus Prime's core belief, it's against tyranny, not anarchy. ICE agents doing their job in getting rid of undocumented immigrants, many of whom are involved in crimes such as trafficking, as per ICE's website, and is something that the majority of North America voted for, is not oppression. Now, I know what you're thinking. Crimson, you're not American. You don't understand. You don't have a right to speak on American politics. And you're right. I'm not American. Which is why I'm looking at this from the point of view of a Transformers fan in regards to available footage, not personal politics. But let's go back to that thumbnail. In the coloured version, the ICE agents' hands are red to show blood on their hands, to reinforce the belief that they are fascists that hunt down innocent families of immigrants, supposedly to represent Renee's death. But let's look at all the available footage. Since we went through the details of Renee and Jonathan earlier, we're just going to jump straight into the footage available.
I have to give you a warning here. The video you're about to see is graphic. You'll see an ICE agent stopping a red SUV yesterday. One tries to open the car door. The driver reverses and then pulls away. This is the ICE agent approaching the vehicle. There's the vehicle reversing. Now, the officer on the other side of the car, as the SUV pulls away, opens fire. The SUV then slams into a parked car.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad. That's okay, we don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I said go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
Oh! They're approaching,
yeah,
okay.
This is ICE agents just pulling up here. The vehicle is
Lower
right there.
And it happens so fast that it's hard to see what takes place in this particular video, but that is the front angle, and then we have also obtained some video from behind.
There's one angle of the shooting, and here's another one from a different angle, which President Trump had referenced when posting to social media yesterday, showing the situation from the front of the vehicle. Again, here is a look at both angles side by side. First, in real time here, you're watching it. We will also slow it down. And we are doing this to give you both views, because in the back angle, it's unclear if that agent was hit by the car. In the front angle, it does seem to show some contact. Federal agents say the agent, quote, feared for his life and was following training. Witnesses are disputing that, saying Good was trying to leave, turn around, and leave the area when she was fatally shot.
I also just want to look at Dr. G Explains this video again, as he adds a few extra details.
Now, to understand the situation, you have to understand fight or flight. Fight or flight is about threat detection. It's about trying to survive. So when you identify a threat, your body gives you a surge of adrenaline that's meant to help you survive. Now, the first thing you're going to do is freeze, typically. And after that freeze, then we're going to try to escape. And if you can't escape, you fight. Now, sometimes people skip directly to fight, depending on how much experience they have in certain situations. But typically, it's freeze, flight, then fight. Now, in this situation, Renee Good is constantly in flight mode. She is ready to leave. She was already in reverse by the time the ICE agent even came up to her window. So she's been in flight for a minute. Now, the ICE agent, as I said, his threat detection was not towards Renee Good. It was actually towards her wife. Watch this right here. He's focused on her right now. He's actually focused on the way that they're interacting until the other ICE agent walks up to Renee Good. That's what diverts his attention. But his attention was focused on her because I think he identified her as being a bigger problem, so to speak. If this ICE agent had identified Renee Good as a problem, he already would have told her to get out of the car, likely. Maybe he was waiting for backup to do that, but I expect that if he thought that she was going to do this, he immediately would have asked her to get out of the car when he walked by in the first place. There's a couple of things I want you to pay attention to. One is that he did not drop his phone, which is extremely surprising considering the fact that he literally just drew his gun and shot somebody, and the whole time held on to his cell phone with his left hand. That speaks to how quickly all of this happened. That also speaks to that fight or flight that I was talking about. You don't have time to think about what you're doing. Your body goes into an automatic mode. So at this point, when he drew his gun and fired, this was not something that had any amount of real thought behind it. Now, whether or not this violated protocol, whether or not this was the appropriate time to do that, that's up for other people to decide. I'm just talking about what he would have been experiencing at the time. As you can see, she's trying to escape a situation that has now escalated to something else. And when you've never experienced something like this before, when you've never done something like this before, The feelings that come with it are going to be terrifying. There's going to be adrenaline surging in a way that she's likely never experienced. Like I said, she seemed to drown out the fact that her wife was even next to her. She may have heard her, but may have been dissociated to an extent to where she really wasn't taking in a lot of the stimuli around her. Now, if you watch closely, you can see her tire is pointed to the left right here. So as she reverses, her tires are still pointed to the left. As you saw in the other video, she starts turning her steering wheel to the right very quickly. However, all that does is straighten the tires very briefly before she's ever able to actually turn right. So watch this right here. So as you can see, the tires spun. They're starting to drive straight very, very briefly before she ultimately turns right. Although, like I said before, the goal, I think, was to escape the situation. I think she was trying to back up and get out. I do not think she was trying to drive straight ahead. So she just stopped reversing. He's just now walking ahead. So he's now appeared in frame. As soon as she starts accelerating, I'm talking about within one frame, he's already drawn his gun. Now, this right here is extremely treacherous. He is discharging his weapon with another ICE agent's head 18 inches from Renee Good right now. This would be an unusual thing for a law enforcement officer to do, which to me speaks to how automatic and how quickly he behaved in this situation. Now, that does not mean he made the right decision. That's a different discussion. I'm not getting into all of that. I'm just trying to explain the human behavior we're seeing right now. But at this point, for him to discharge his weapon with another person, much less another ICE agent, this closely next to his weapon, when he easily could have slid on the ice, he could have moved, he very easily could have shot somebody else. To me, that speaks to the automatic nature of what he did.
So, what do we know from all this? Well, we know that A, despite saying, "That's fine, dude, I'm not mad at you," Renee was not willing to comply with ICE despite being given at least a few warnings, which prompted them to try and get her out of the car when they lost their patience, thus provoking her to drive away. B, her wife Rebecca was outside the vehicle taunting Jonathan, and upon failing to get in since Renee locked the doors, instead of saying, "Don't do this," she instead chanted, "Drive, baby, drive," as Renee accelerated forward. C. Given how he uses the gun in his right hand, we can see when he switches the phone to his left hand that Jonathan saw Rebecca as the more immediate threat, and when going over to aid the other officers, that's when Renee started to flee, turning away and pointing at him, prompting his PTSD from the previous car ramming event, and instinctually drew his firearm to shoot thrice, and only 2 of the bullets hit her. D. As we can see, the ground both he and the vehicle's front-wheel drive tyres are on is icy, so him running without slipping wasn't an option, and if she hadn't have slipped there, he would have certainly been dragged by the car before she finished steering to the right. And let's make one other thing clear.
He shot her because she was queer.
How did he?
He shot her because she was queer. You can see so clearly. I didn't think that it was like that before, but when you see the footage, he shot her because she was queer. And you voted for this!
Ross had no idea who Renee Good was. He never met her, he had never spoken to her, he had no knowledge of her being bisexual or married to a woman, so the idea that he shot her because of her sexual orientation is just silly. Finally, someone told me in a comment section that the YouTube solicitor LegalEagle made a response that was politically neutral, but I'm hesitant to believe him given how poorly he handled the Kyle Rittenhouse case. I recommend this video from Uncivil Law, which is also linked in the video description. So, no, ICE does not have blood on their hands, especially since most anti-ICE protesters are released after just 1 day, I've linked this in the video description too, and they are tasked with capturing and deporting undocumented immigrants, not executing them. Their focus is on threats like traffickers and gang members, not blanket violence, much like how Optimus Prime and his Autobots enforce order without unnecessary harm if possible. But of course, despite the available footage showing that this was not an act of oppression or fascism, many anti-ICE individuals decide to use this as an opportunity to cause property damage, raid cars they believe are associated with ICE agents, and use their phones to record themselves harassing working agents.
It's this right here. It's this right here. Hey, come here. Hey, we're gonna hammer it down.
Looks like you guys are what fascism looks like. Go the fuck home. Protect your. You guys are just here to protect yourself. You don't care about anyone else.
This kind of filming and confrontation often seems designed to provoke a reaction, which could then justify portraying the agents as tyrants. Even at her memorial, this sign saying "Rest in power, not rest in peace" gives an uncomfortable view into how anti-ICE individuals think. And yeah, it's kind of funny how most of these protesters tend to be middle-class white liberals, not immigrants who legally came and who do follow the law. Don't believe me? Watch this footage here.
10 BC dudes come out and pull up on you, tackle you to the ground, drag you out in shame, separate you from your family, and throw you on a plane to fucking El Salvador. Shame! That happens in this building every fucking day. Every day, and that's what needs to stop. That's what we need to stop. Jail! 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 The fucking land force here! Let me
sir.
Good. How are you doing, officer?
Good. And we're doing immigration and spot checks on CDL.
Okay.
Do you have your CDL with you?
I do.
You mind if I take a look at it?
No, I don't. Do you need to?
It's really up to you. If you're willing to let me check it, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Where were you born?
I was born in Chicago.
In Chicago?
Yeah.
Is that where you're living now?
No.
All right. Appreciate it, sir.
No problem.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.
Wow.
ICE just left.
Karen told me this is the Gestapo.
You guys don't care about that white lady. You guys don't care about Renee at all. You guys don't care about that lady that lost her life, that got unalived by the ICE agent. You guys don't even care about her. The only reason you care is because you don't like Trump. Anything attached to Trump, you're not going to like. You would have hated them when Obama was around too, but you don't.
My point exactly. My point exactly. ICE has been around. It's not like ICE is new. The only thing that's new about ICE is how they're literally doing their job even more and kicking out the people who aren't supposed to be here.
To get home.
So they have the road shut down right now. What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to get down to Cedar. Man, you're messing around with everybody's day of life. Everybody's day of life, not just yours, everybody.
Because people were literally showing up with their babies as shields. People are showing up to the protests with their children, so like trying to deflect the cops from shooting tear gas and things like that. This is love and compassion. This is love and compassion.
ICE, HSI are officers. They are agents of law enforcement.
People be forgetting that. They do.
If you box them in with vehicles, it is reasonable for them to believe that they are being ambushed and that this could end in a deadly situation. And it's reasonable for them to use force based on those conditions. Do not box in any law enforcement officer. You are breaking the law when you do that. And you are putting yourself in danger. Following law enforcement agents around. The question is why? What do you plan on doing?
This is another great example of a woman who is just basically, she's gone far too far, right? So in the beginning of this, you can like she's interfered with ICE, and they have to chase her through the streets, and you get this from the ICE perspective, and eventually she pulls over and it's like, listen, love, what are you doing? Right? What are you doing? Right, I'm going to interfere with ICE arresting some illegal aliens and deporting them, right? Because you think those people need you.
You will be arrested. This is your last and final warning. Hold on a second, guys. Give me your license, please. I will once again tell you, you have cases in danger. Take your vehicle and park and shut it off, please. I understand, but you are impeding. Look where you are at. You are almost causing an accident. You are surrounded by federal agents. Kylie?
Yes, please.
You turn around and get out of here.
I'm getting out of here.
Here you go. Slow down.
Yes.
Hey.
What did you think you were doing? Your husband is going to be furious. Get off the internet. What do you mean? Oh, I've got to save these criminal aliens from ICE. I'm going to be a hit. No, you're not. You're going to put yourself and your children in danger. You're going to ruin your life. You're going to ruin your family. Your husband's going to get a phone call at work and be like, sorry, my wife's what? She's under arrest? Why? She rammed an ICE agent or whatever that she had done, and then she tried to flee in her... What?
Yeah. Get the fuck out of here! Out of the way! Out of the way! Get out of the way! Get your hands off him! Now!
Get the fuck back! Get back! Get back!
Get back!
Get.
Who's down there? What's your name?
Give me your hand!
Who's down there? What's your name?
Give him your hand!
You're such a fucking coward. No one was coming for you. Yes, you fucking are. That's why you're fucking fast up the fucking fucking stupid.
Abducting people!
Pull your mask down.
I don't care. If the police tell you to stop, you stop. If a white man would have been occupying that vehicle and there happened to be MAGA merch on the back of that said vehicle, y'all would be celebrating.
Either celebrating or silent. Ooh. Oh, and I'm so glad Renee wasn't black. Oh. If Renee was black, it would have been George Floyd. I don't even want to say 2.0. They would have took this shit to the moon. It would have been nasty work. Nasty. I'm so glad Renee was a white woman. That's how much virtue signaling and like getting mad for the sake of getting mad is nowadays in this country. It's to the point that we know, had that been a white man with a MAGA hat, silent, crickets, probably never heard about it. And if it was a black person, every building would be burned down right now. That's how you know it's a problem.
You can't pick and choose when to cheer for law enforcement. Kind of reminds me of George Floyd.
Yes.
The cops tell you to stop, you stop.
You know how many things can be avoided in this country if you just comply? You can sue the feds. You can sue the government. You can sue your local city. You can. We already know everybody got on the body cams. So if they're doing something wrong, you can fight against it in court. Easy. So if law enforcement is asking you a question, answer it. They want an ID, just give them your ID. And if they're telling you to stop, stop. Don't resist. Don't flee. Don't do any of these things. It's not going to help your case whatsoever.
No human being deserves to lose their lives at the hands of anybody else. However, your decisions have consequences.
Thank you.
And here's another one. I'm going to mute this as well to save your ears because it's a racket. But there's a guy here who's just got an American flag hoodie with the word freedom on, which is enough for him to get accosted by huge crowds of people. And he, to my mind, this guy doesn't look like a white nationalist, but these days you never know. But it's to the point where they're accosting
He really
people.
doesn't look like a white nationalist, actually.
That's mad.
Oh, yes! No! Take that shit out! Take that shit out!
I'm sick and I'm sure you can tell, but we're going to keep going. The official Democrats page posted this. In Minneapolis, ICE arrested a 5-year-old coming home from preschool and tried to use him as human bait. His teacher described him as a, quote, bright young student, end quote. These monsters are sick, with a picture of a little boy. They go on to say that as agents were approaching the driver, Arias, he fled on foot, abandoning his child. For the child's safety, one of the ICE officers remained with the child while the other officers apprehended Cuneo Arias. They explain further that parents are asked if they want to be removed with their children, or ICE will place the child with a safe person that the parent designates, and that this has been consistent with past administrations' immigration enforcement. None of them are choosing to tell the truth, which is that this 5-year-old's father entered the country illegally, knew he was in this country illegally, and when he was confronted by ICE, he chose to abandon his 5-year-old. On top of that, ICE under the current administration handled this situation in a way in which I would hope ICE under any administration would handle this situation.
Thank you so much. Lovely.
There's basically two scenarios here. One, there was the negligent discharge, which led to spooking the officers after someone had already declared out loud that he was armed, and thus, I believe, it was a good shoot. The other one is these officers reasonably perceived, after being warned that he was armed, when he had reached to his back, to his holster, and swung his arm back around. Now, it could be his cell phone here. It could be, people say it's a magazine. I don't know why he would have pulled a magazine. That doesn't make any sense. But what the officer sees is this. You know, the officer sees him reaching and pulling. That's what they're saying, reaching and pulling. That's all they see. It doesn't matter if it's a tennis ball in your hand. The officers have been warned that you're armed, and they see you reach behind into your waistband and pull. And again, that also would make this a very reasonable, lawful shoot. No, stick to the facts. He showed up armed. He fought with police. And when you do that, bad things are very likely to happen. And that's what happened here. So you see on the right, he's reaching and pulling, okay? And you see he pulls and then he whips it around, and then they shoot. That combined with the negligent discharge, which is what I think happened, is why he's dead.
Man in Minneapolis is being confronted and labeled a Nazi over alleged support for ICE before being assaulted and knocked out. Someone in the crowd shouts, "He's one of us," appearing to realize they attacked one of their own.
Let him up! Let him up! Police! Let him up! 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 He's one of us! Okay. He's one of us! Okay.
How are they letting this shit go on?
He's one of us! How do we know? How do we know?
How do we... Dude, it's crazy this is even real, right? Tech workers say they were mistaken for ICE agents accosted by the anti-ICE mob.
We do custom apps for a whole bunch of companies around Minnesota and the country.
It's scary. It is scary. These people will kill you if they could. Law enforcement is okay now? What's this?
Shame on you!
What is this? What do they do? Yep.
If we go to the next one here, here we have Sheriff Grady, who says that it says in the writing here at 76, it's actually 74 is what he says. Illegals detained in the county have criminal charges. So they're protesting about a vast majority of the people being rounded up having already committed crimes and already being criminals.
It really shouldn't. That shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. Quite frankly, it's baffling that you've got to come out and say that to try and calm people down. To be like, look, can we get rid of these, problem people?
I mean, the first crime is them entering the country illegally in the first place.
Well, that's enough for me.
Actually, 100% of illegals detained in the country are criminals.
They followed James O'Keefe, who many people might be familiar with through his work with Project Veritas.
Yeah, wonderful
Lots
work.
of good work, yeah. And apparently lots of people were threatening to kill him. They've had bottles thrown at them. They were followed. And the like, and he showed one of the texts that he received because his number got leaked, and people would just message him things like, "We know you're in Minneapolis, you're with O'Keefe and his crew." I presume this must be one of the people with him rather than him himself. "You're in a white Ford license plate blanked out for the sake of privacy from Florida. You have 1 hour to leave or you are dead." I mean, there's no ambiguity here as to what's going on. It's just, we've taken over the streets. The people that we don't want here aren't welcome, and if you don't leave, we'll kill you. That's as explicit as it possibly could be.
Anti-ICE rioters have now seized control of the road outside Minneapolis, blocking vehicles to ensure occupants aren't Nazis before allowing them to pass.
It's just what I said.
They're introducing their own traffic stops and ideological traffic stops.
That's what a Nazi would say.
Not a Nazi!
Look at it, look. And then you have this here. Rioters are attempting to break down the fence outside Minneapolis ICE facility. Yet another rioter jumped in and said, "We don't have the numbers yet."
Look, we're gonna break it down, guys, break it down.
Oh, and look at this here, guys. Anti-ICE protesters stormed the Capitol. I've seen this before. Yep. Asylums. Yep, this is in Minnesota. Look at them, bro. Jesus. So they tried to have a protest, and this is it. They're fighting now. Yeah.
Now, tell me, after looking at all of those videos of protesters, do you really think Optimus Prime, a military commander, would be fine with this behaviour, let alone protect it? Optimus Prime defends life, but also the innocent. He would be disappointed that Renee was shot, yes, he would, but he wouldn't demonise ICE for something that she willingly chose to do. Again, as we've gone over earlier. He would still respect ICE for doing their jobs in rounding up illegals, much like how his Autobots round up Decepticons, not protesters provoking them and trying to run them over. Let's look at some particular comments. Optimus Prime would 100% do this. All he sees are people getting hurt. He'll do anything to protect the helpless until all are one. No. He would use his advanced Cybertronian scanners and autonomy to detect that protesters are being unreasonable and would try to calm them down. Here's another comment. This is 100% in character. He would not stand idly by. He would do whatever possible to protect all being oppressed by the government. Fuck ICE. No. Optimus Prime respects Earth's laws and has integrated, hence why he and the Autobots are trusted, even though they're giant robots who could easily make humans extinct if they really wanted to. Illegal immigrants being part of gangs and human trafficking are not being oppressed, they are being arrested. How about this comment? We're talking about the same guy who in every universe stands up against a tyrant. This is well in character. No, Optimus Prime fights Megatron, who led riots against Cybertron's government, while he just wants society, not constant protesting. This is not in character for him because many versions of Optimus have worked with the police, army, and other law enforcers. Here's one. This isn't a your favourite character supports your ideology situation. It's literally one of the main messages of Transformers. Optimus Prime is an immigrant. No, he isn't. He's a refugee. Why? Because he can't go home a lot of the time. Whether it's because his home's been desolated, because he's put Earth in danger and must protect it, because he's been outlawed by Decepticon rulers, or because his home has genuinely been destroyed. Even if he is an immigrant, he's assimilated and respects the law. These protestors and illegal immigrants don't. Transformers was never really about immigrants, but we'll go over the more relevant themes later. Let's look at a few more comments. The fact that ICE defenders and Transformers fans have any kind of overlap is insane. No media literacy, no morality. But again, Optimus upholds the law in almost every Transformers media. He would not tolerate reckless protests. Alright, let's just look at one more. It's a small thing in the grand scheme, but this tiny little fleck of beauty helps me to continue on. No, this is not a little fleck of beauty. It's misleading, and it hopes that you're going to be ignorant to the bigger picture. Autobots, and to an extent Decepticons, are not immigrants. They are refugees. The difference? Refugees flee with plans to return home, while immigrants plan on permanent movement. An example of this would be the UK immigrant scandal, where many illegal boat crossers were discovered to return home to their home countries they flee from for holidays. I give a link to these articles in the video description. Most Transformers cartoons don't even have them choose Earth, they just end up there for story reasons because Hasbro needs them to turn to vehicles to sell the toys. I know a lot of popular Transformers YouTube creators are going to defend this art and Delta Trion's videos. And again, I need to make this clear, I like watching a lot of these channels, so this isn't personal. I will praise Delta Trion when he deserves it, and all these other channels, but I'm willing to call all them out too. It's called being fair. In fact, since Delta Trion is steadfast in his Transformers are immigrant stance, let's play a little game. How many Transformers series end with the Transformers either going home or staying? The Marvel Comics. Cybertron is restored and the Autobots return home. Return. The Generation 1 cartoon. At the end of the Rebirth Part 3, Cybertron's Great War ends and a second Golden Age begins, with every surviving Cybertronian celebrating with no mention of moving to Earth. While the Headmasters anime does see the Autobots return to deal with Scorponok, the Autobots seem to have just a single base on Earth, maybe two, and even then, there's no mass migration. It's more comparable to the South Pole base, if anything. Return. Super God Master Force. After the final battle, both the Godmasters and the Headmaster Juniors leave to pursue fleeing Decepticons, and they no longer have their bonds to humans due to their transtectors being destroyed. The only reason Metalhawk stays is to round up remaining pretenders and Seacons. Return. Victory. There's no clear evidence that the Brainmasters, the Multiforce, or Great Shot permanently move and live on Earth, but there is the reformed Dino Force. They work as construction workers, but again, they're the only ones, so it really doesn't count as mass migration. Return. Zone. It's implied that Victory Leo and his team return home since they only went to Earth to stop the Decepticons. Return. Beast Wars. The Maximals return to Cybertron. Return. Beast Machines. The Maximals restore Cybertron and stay there. Return. Robots in Disguise 2001. Optimus tells Koji that they will be going home to Cybertron, but stay a bit longer to have a few more days with them. Return. The Unicron Trilogy. Armada ends with the Autobots and Minicons leaving to rebuild Cybertron. Energon, it's a bit confusing because they planet hop a lot, but they don't call any of the planets Earth, and they are based on Cybertron, so it's assumed that they go back once the whole deal is done with. And in Cybertron, it ends with the Autobots leaving Earth. Return. Animated. The final episode ends with the heroes returning with the Decepticon prisoners to thunderous applause. Series 4 would have taken place on Earth, but it was cancelled, so it doesn't count. Return. Aligned continuity. Prime ends with Cybertron being restored and lives returning, except for the rescue bots, who stay on Earth as a rescue team, though they maintain their secrecy with the exception of Griffin Rock, since they had to reveal themselves to stop the Velgroks in the first episode of Series 4, New Normal. A few years later, in Robots in Disguise 2015, the B team stays on Earth, though mostly just to round up Steeljaw and the remaining outlawed Decepticons, and Optimus says that they are to be ambassadors, but that's a bit vague and it doesn't imply mass migration. Finally, in Rescue Bots Academy, the new recruits train on Earth, but they don't really seem to have a permanent residence. It's more like living at a university away from home. Either way, not mass migration, doesn't count. Return and stay, so 1 point for each. Netflix trilogy. The third act, Kingdom, ends with Cybertron being restored, and everyone is encouraged to return. Return. Cyberverse. Ends on a peaceful Cybertron after only spending 1.5 series on Earth with no human interaction apart from a live stream chat thing. Return. Earthspark. Earthspark ends in one of the most baffling endings ever, where Megatron's turned evil again because of some time warp nonsense, and everyone stays on Earth to figure out how to make him good again. Whatever. Stay. Bayverse films. Cybertron was partially restored through some plot device, which I can't be bothered to remember because I didn't like The Last Knight, and Optimus declares that all Autobots should return. Quintessa escapes to Earth in a human disguise, but that's never followed up on, so it's completely dismissive. Return. Nightverse films. Both Bumblebee and Rise of the Beasts make it clear that Cybertron is in the hands of the Decepticons, and Optimus plans to retake it. Though nothing's been followed up, the intention is clear. Return. Finally, the IDW comics from 2005 to its end. Cybertron is destroyed by Unicron, and the survivors now move to Earth to live with humans. Stay. So, only 3 have the Autobots stay on Earth, and 2 of those are for specific duties, not mass immigration. Now, arguments for stay can be made because of the Dino Force in Victory, as well as the B-Team and Rescue Bot Academy staff and students in the aligned continuity, but the Dino Force really seem to be the only team that stays, and even then, again, it's just for construction work, and the latter's ambassador role is too vague, while the Academy, again, is like living in a university away from home. I did exclude G2 because it's deliberately ambiguous, so no, Delta Trion, the Transformers are not immigrants. If we look at the series' history, the more consistent themes, I'd say, are war, obviously, resource scarcity, such as Energon in G1, Energon in Prime, the Minicons in the Unicron trilogy, and even the recent Cyberworld, where they're playing for upgrades. Survival, such as in Beast Wars and Beast Machines and the Netflix trilogy. Trying to go home is a theme, such as in Prime, Marvel, Bayverse, and the Netflix trilogy. Another theme is personal transformation, such as Beast Machines forcing characters to adapt, IDW's critique of the caste systems, animated showing the team's growth, Dinobot's journey in Beast Wars, and even the Bayverse films tried to do this with Sam Witwicky. And the final theme, to me at least, is unity, forgiving each other when the war is over, such as in Cyberverse, the novel and comic versions of Dark of the Moon, and uniting against Unicron in multiple different series. So yeah, those are the themes I think are most associated with Transformers, not immigration. But that's not all. Remember how I said that Daniel Warren Johnson sees anyone opposing immigration as the bad guy? Well, this stems from another commission he drew of DC's absolute version of Batman breaking the neck of an ICE agent. This was followed up by the Absolute Batman Annual, which is officially approved and published by DC Comics, where he fights a group of white supremacists, despite the fact that, especially in diverse areas, white supremacists are hunted down and arrested in minutes compared to other groups out of fear of being called racist. If you don't believe me, Connor Tomlinson made a surprisingly well-made argument in his Batman Was Always Right-Wing video, reminding everyone that not only has Batman always worked with the police and the law in general, but that years ago, critics and even the beloved Grant Morrison called Batman a fascist character because he would not only attack rich villains, but he would attack poor villains, completely ignoring the fact that he's a reactionary hero against chaos, always trying to uphold the law to keep it fair, and knows that he can't solve things with everyone is equal politics.
This is, of course, a proxy for fighting people that have been called fascists, Nazis, and white supremacists. Because this sort of thing is not actually going on in America right now. I know people will point to the Unite the Right rally at Charlottesville, or some of the Hitler apologia made by some of the more popular commentators online, and you might think those things are odious. But when the people being called fascists are the likes of the deceased Charlie Kirk, there is a conflation with who is actually a fascist, a neo-Nazi, a white supremacist, and thereby deserves this lethal force from the left's beloved fictional characters. Now, the problem with that is, of course, the parameters for Nazi are never properly defined, because Kamala Harris, in a week or so before the election last year, was calling Donald Trump Adolf Hitler. She was saying he was a fascist. And so we end up with multiple assassination attempts against the president's life, up to the election, and the killing of Charlie Kirk, who, even after he was murdered, on camera, and his grieving widow has now been mocked, there are members of Congress still insulting his memory and insinuating that he deserved it because he said things that they didn't like. So, justifying, yet again, more political violence. I've made a lengthy video on this that I will link down in the description. Members of Congress have also been engaged in doxing the addresses and names of ICE officers, which is why they're now wearing masks. And them wearing masks to shield their identities from their families being persecuted for their lawful activities, you know, like what Batman does. That has been used as proof of Trump's totalitarianism, which has been then used to justify violence against them. So this annual is, I would think, knowingly, a piece of stochastic terrorism against people that they call Nazis, and they are not applying that label correctly in all times and places. So, as Oren McIntyre has pointed out, the label at this point, fascist or Nazi or even racist, often just means people that I endorse violence against. Is this in character for Batman? Because clearly Batman would attack vigilante, violent groups regardless of their ideology, right? Well, there has been a concerted effort by writers over the last 2 decades to reconfigure Batman into being a left-wing character. Grant Morrison wrote about this pretty openly in Supergods for Superman, where he said that originally Superman was a champion of social justice by the contemporary parlance, when what Superman was doing, actually, was breaking down the doors of domestic abusers. He wasn't beating up white people and giving all their stuff to black people as an act of reparations, or he wasn't marching in pride parades. But these things that we would consider not morally objectionable, for example, beating up actual militant white separatist gangs that are just indiscriminately attacking people on the basis of their race, or saving women from domestic abusers, are then conflated with a suite of other leftist politics that we would find reprehensible. And that has been smuggled in to Batman, which is completely out of character for him. Well, who are you to say this is out of character, you might ask, considering these are writers paid by DC who have written Batman for a very long time, and so may have some credibility on the subject. Well, I don't have a track record of writing Batman, but I do have quite the track record of reading Batman. My first comic was actually the return of Jason Todd in Batman Hush, the single floppy, all the way back in the early 2000s, and ever since I've built up a rather nice library of comic books, which I quite like. Some of them still have the wrapper on them because, unfortunately, it's been a busy year, but I have read plenty of these. I just like buying the premium collected edition. So I would like to say, means that I have an understanding of what makes Batman as a character tick, and I would say that Batman is a deeply reactionary character whose willingness to apply force to restore order, rather than just resort to redistributing all wealth, liberating prisons, and treating everyone as if the criminals themselves are oppressed by society, and therefore everyone's a blank slate, that means that Batman is not a left-wing character. He never has been, and attempts to rewrite him as a character is an attempt to defile the legacy of the character, to co-opt him for your political ends, those political ends being, as we've seen, violent rage fantasies.
I have also linked this video in the description if you want more context. But the same thing applies to Optimus Prime. He values life, but he's willing to take lives if it means he can save more. He values freedom, but will take it away when freedom is used for harming others, such as arresting Decepticons and criminals like in Animated and Earthspark. He tries to calm down protesters rather than encourage them, because that isn't going to be the best solution. Plus, he's a giant robot. He could easily squish people if he's not careful, so it's best to temper the situation. Plus, Ice would probably be calmer admittedly if he was present, since he respects the law, and if they did step out of line, he would be the last one to let it slide. So I am willing to admit that, you can have that point. But you get what I'm saying, right? He is first and foremost a military commander, a mentor to the young, and most importantly, a dad. Dads need to put their foot down, and they must lead by example. And encouraging protests to protect illegals is not a good example to follow. Renee's parents, her dad in particular being a Donald Trump supporter, has focused on grief and remembering her positively, not calling for protests and attacks on ICE agents in public in her name. They have urged empathy and have avoided escalating political blame in statements while pursuing a civil investigation. Even Tim McLin Sr., the dad of Renee Good's late second husband Tim McLin Jr., who died in 2023, has made it clear he does not blame ICE or Jonathan for what happened. He just wants everyone to calm down.
Just a whole bunch of bad choices is what I see. I mean, we've all sinned and fell short of the glory of God. We've all made bad choices, and myself, I've made multitudes of bad choices. And Trump's got a responsibility to take care of the country. I mean, God has put him in charge, control, but he's got to do it through the Lord. I think he's doing a great job. It's his responsibility to protect, God's people in America. And I have no blame for anybody. I want to be a peacemaker. I just believe that, the Bible, I heard somebody say earlier that this is a spiritual warfare, and it is. It's not political, it's spiritual. The Bible said in the last days it'll be kingdom against kingdom and a nation against nation. And, we'll see the wars, the rumors of wars and the hurricanes and tornadoes, and it's all happening. It's really... the way the Bible's fulfilling itself, I think it ought to be a wake-up call, realizing this stuff this nation is getting out of control. Yeah. Unless people turn back to God or repent, it's going to keep getting worse.
I know this has been a very uncomfortable topic, so I'm going to try and end it on a positive note. Despite Optimus being a military general, he does know when to be personal, such as redeeming Decepticons like Scourge in the Cybertron episodes Primal, Scourge, and Showdown. His example gets through to Knockout at the end of Predacons Rising.
And in my view, you have each acted as a Prime. Well, I never really had the best role models.
And most notably, Armada Starscream, just by leading through example, something which Starscream wasn't afraid to tell Megatron.
I tried to gain favor from you, but nothing was ever good enough. No matter how many battles I fought, you always found fault. Then I saw how Optimus treated his men, and I realized he was a leader of integrity. Unlike you.
I can't believe Starscream did that.
Well, I'm not gonna cry for him because the traitor got what he deserved.
At Galvatron, sir, why don't we say we're going to join the Autobots, and once we're inside, we destroy them once and for all?
From now on, would you keep your mindless thoughts to yourself? Right now, all I can think about is the comrade we lost. Sure, he challenged my authority in a failed coup attempt, and even though Starscream was a traitor, he never lost sight of his oath to the Decepticons. He was a true soldier, unlike most of you!
Optimus Prime still knows that people can be redeemed, but he's not naive. Something that even Daniel Warren Johnson himself did get right in issue 6 of the Skybound run. It is disappointing because he did manage to get through those 24 issues with, to my knowledge, no huge political undertones or anything. So, yeah, this proves that not all art is political and you can make it work without allegories. Freedom is indeed the right of all sentient beings. I will always agree with that until I die. It's just that freedom by itself does not guarantee justice and civilization. And again, I need to make this clear. I don't hate Delta Trion. He's obviously very passionate about Transformers. I'm just disappointed that he took this approach. Especially considering that, unlike me, he's left the comments usernames visible for harassment. Not cool, buddy. Not cool. But I also need to make one more thing clear. Please, do not use my video as an excuse to attack him. Leave Delta Trion alone. Do not harass him. Do not spam his videos with comments about how he's wrong. Just get on with your day, make comments relevant to the video, and don't escalate this. We need to remain disciplined throughout this. After all, it was Cullen Hightower who said, "Discipline without freedom is tyranny, but freedom without discipline is chaos." Many people, especially Transformers fans who agree with Delta Trion, would be wise to remember that. That was a lot. This took a lot of emotional power to do, so thanks for giving me a chance and watching all the way to the end. I hope at the very least you learnt something new, and if I still wasn't able to convince you, then I tried. So, until I decide to make another video, hopefully something more positive next time, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Until then, take care.